Thanks everybody for your comments on the last video. Everybody wrote stuff along similar lines, which is really nice. So it's like the key themes were make sure your grounds on the ST1100 wiring loom were clean and free from corrosion. So I do have a wiring diagram that I can go and look at, and if it's not too difficult for my limited ability, I'll be able to trace the grounds and clean the contacts, then put some conductive grease on there. That's my plan. The other thing was to make sure everything has inline fuses. And so here you can see I've got one of the components, which is the screen from AUC. That has an inline fuse built into it. So we'll have a fuse going to the splitter box here, and then we'll have from here these components that are being supported by the fuse junction will also have inline fuses. I said fuse junction, I don't think that makes any sense. Other news, I've managed to track down a new soldering iron, just a little Draper soldering station. I read reviews about it online and most people said it was alright. A few people said it just broke after the first use. It was 30, how much was it? 32 quid, I think, something like that. And then I've got some much thicker wire as well, which is more in line with the thickness of the splitter box. So yeah, thank you everybody for all the comments. You really pointed me in the right direction. I really don't like auto electrics. I've actually, funny story, I had an old 1986 BMW 316 carburetted version, and it had an electrical drain on the battery. And I ended up getting so frustrated I just scrapped the car, which was really stupid, but it just shows I have no patience for electrics. If it makes you feel any better, it was an auto 4-door poverty spec car, but still now looking back I kind of wish I had still had that car. One of the other things I've learnt since researching this is, as you can see now with the battery removed, there's this fuse box here. And from the top, it's tail light 10 amp, horn 10 amp, turn 10 amp, and then it's got this fourth one down that says ignition ACG starter. Then you've got fan, you've got clock, and you've got headlights. So I think from reading online and watching YouTube that that fourth fuse down there, which you see actually has a spare slot. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing in the fourth one. I think that is for accessory wires to be put into. So I'm going to see if that is a switch live with the ignition. Right, here's the test. Let's put the V500 onto probe. And let's just do a test. 12.5 volts on the battery. Let's open this box. Now let's check the fourth fuse down. Nothing. Okay. Lights on. Got the 11 volts. So that is a switch live. Right, so next we're just going to add a spay connector to the end of this accessory wire. I'm just going to crimp it, but I will also add solder because I don't trust the crimp. I want every connection to be as strong as possible, really. So there we go, nice and tight. Got nothing. Fire this up. Yes, and I'm reading a little bit of higher voltage. Perhaps because that's a cleaner connection, because it's all new wire. So we now have our switch live from the correct accessory fuse. So that's a bit of an improvement. Right, let's start soldering everything together then. We're going to do it the proper way with the heat shrink. Now, you don't want to go too tight on the heat shrink, otherwise basically you won't get it over the blob of solder. Ouch. Always do that. I'll poke my finger into this sharp piece of metal. Very stupid. Now I'm going to fit the junction box to the bike. Right, a quick test. Looks good. I'm going to retain as much of this as possible because we might need this to be used on another bike or whatnot. You know, there's no point in cutting away wire that we could use in the future. Right, here it is, and everything's wired into it. Obviously looks like a bit of a spider's web at the moment, but even the humble USB charger works. Right, here's the bike as it stands. So quite a lot of the bike's back together. I never like to take too much of the bike apart before I start another part of it, because you end up with just all sorts of bits lying all over the floor. So down here under the battery, I've got the 3 wires running up under the panels of the bike, quite neat. Still got an anodized green bolt there. That's from a Kawasaki project. I didn't have another bolt that fitted, so that's a bit of an eyesore, but we'll have to sort that out at some stage. Coming up to the top, here's the junction box. Got all the all the blue lights. And then we got the heated grips coming off here, the AUC coming off here, and we've got USB A charger coming off here. If I come round to the front, oh, you can see Sue's outside. That's what the AUC looks like. I think it looks actually quite nice between the handlebars. Because it's a big bike, it doesn't sort of take over the view. Whereas on a small classic bike, sometimes these things are a bit of an eyesore. But if I sit up on the bike, oops, this is kind of what it'll look like. So you'll still see the analog clocks, and then you'll have this thing here. One thing I've noticed is this is a lot brighter than that. So at night time, it's going to be a bit annoying, I think. But we'll have to see, cross that bridge when we come to it. We've also got ST1100 bar risers. Now I've spent a little bit more on these, spent about 20 quid, as opposed to the £5 I normally spend on them from AliExpress. And it was money well spent because not only are they branded ST1100, but they also fit perfectly. There's no kind of dodginess trying to get the bolt holes to line up or whatnot, it just fits. So I'm kind of pleased. I mean, if it said ST1100 on the cover and didn't fit, it'd be a bit of a pain. Now the AUC and the bar risers have necessitated removing the plastic shroud that normally covers the top clamp and the bars. It doesn't look as nice, I'm going to admit that, but to have a comfortable riding position with the bars now 2 inches further backwards, I think it's worth it. The only thing I can do probably is auto sole, try and clean up this as much as possible and make it look as good as it can look. The other thing about mounting the AUC here is it's got a secure mounting system. This is all Torx Allen, so you'll have to have specialist tools to remove it. I was going to try and fit it up here somewhere, and I would have had to just drill holes, and even with the holes being drilled, it wouldn't have been that secure. So I think that position, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. Like, it just looks quite nice, to be honest. And if you'd step back, this is almost the perfect application for this kind of technology. It's a big touring bike, it's got plastic fairings on it, but it predates TFTs and all that stuff. So you're basically spending 600 quid on a bike and getting, with the AUC, you're getting all the modern tech with the cameras and stuff that are going to be fitted. Now, cameras, let's talk about the cameras. I'm going to put one under there, nose cone mounted, so we're just going to sit under there. I might have to drill that little plastic infill panel. Let's see what happens. I don't really trust glue because it's down there, it's going to get banged about, you're going to have like spray and stuff. So I think a hard fixing is going to be more appropriate. And then we've actually run cable, before all this went back together, run cable along here. Currently I've got the terminal end just in the cubby hole, but I'm going to have to mount a camera at the back here. Now I don't want to do it in the rear light because that's obviously water sealed. I don't really even want to do it in the plastic fairing, so maybe at the end of this rack here, although that moves up and down, doesn't it? I don't know. I'll have to find a way to mount the camera on the back there. Maybe on the top box, but it's going to be worth it because you have front and rear HD cameras. And then coming around to this side, I've kind of given up finding the trim piece here. I did have one, but it didn't fit, which is really annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my clamps and have the pole for my selfie camera thing, what's it called, 360 camera, coming up here. So essentially the camera's going to be here, and you're going to get a nice view of me riding the bike when we're going on tours and stuff. And if I go somewhere like Norway or whatnot, I can have the camera like almost out here, because I mean there won't be anyone for 50 miles. You know, it's so deserted out there. And then I'll get a beautiful view of me riding this Pan-European. Yeah, I'm really happy with the Pan. You guys know I really like it. It's a beautiful bike. And I don't know, like, you know, which bike's the keeper? There's a controversial statement. But look at it. This is the Pan looking all filthy and horrible, but when it gets cleaned up, it's going to be beautiful in the summer, spring, summer. The final thing I want to do is to actually replace the catch that holds the panniers on, because mine was damaged, I think during the accident, so it's slightly bent out of alignment and it didn't shut properly. And then I obviously used the little bolt bodge to hold the pannier on, but now I've got my new panniers, I want to replace this. So if you look under the back of here, you'll see like a little circlip, and what I'm hoping to be able to do is just to be able to swap the lock barrel from one clamp to this new replacement one. So let's just grab a little screwdriver, see if this works. Let's take that off. Right. Okay, so I need the whole thing to be swapped over. So that's like that. If that just slides out. Just try and keep everything the same orientation. It's not flush. I wonder why it's not flush. Ah, there you go. Put that back on. Circle it back. Okay, right, that's on. Now with the key, as I've said many times before, these panniers are too good for the bike. They honestly are just absolutely showroom fresh, those panniers, and my bike is most certainly not showroom fresh. So this is the lock, which is now has its functionality restored. So just turn it with the key, and then it's like a little buckle. Is it going to release? Yeah. And now the pannier can be slid backwards out of the frame. If you wanted to secure it to the bike, you do that. So okay, you know, the chrome is flaking a little bit there, but that's now functional, and I can take the pannier box off the bike. But my gosh, look at that pannier box. It's ridiculous.